Hello and welcome to Plot Twisters.
This is a podcast where we take movies and twist the plot to see if we can make them better. And if not, more bouffant.
At the moment, we're talking about teen movies from the 80s.
On this episode, Hairspray, 1988.
I'm Emma. Just relax. Relax. Don't be ridiculous. Take it easy. Lie down. Lie down. No moping.
I'm Anders, and I am permanently, positively punished.
Permanently, positively punished. Permanently, positively punished. Permanently, positively punished.
Punished.
Permanently, positively punished. Hi, Anders.
Hello! What's that?
I would love to share something with you.
Do it immediately.
Every now and again, we get a film where I'm like, I know what you're going to think. I know exactly what you're going to think.
Oh, yeah, you do. You got my number.
Much more rarely, however, is one where we come together in this space to talk about a film, and I have no idea what you're going to think. And I think that's much more rare for me than it is for you, because I think I'm pretty easy to predict.
I mean, so am I. I mean, let's be honest, right? You are easy to predict, in my opinion, if a movie is offensive to people, right? And or is written poorly, you probably won't like it.
True.
And for me, if it doesn't apparently teach me a lesson or include a hero's journey, I probably am not that interested. Or time travel.
Yeah.
Or time travel, I probably won't like.
True. So this one is interesting because this is a film from the late 80s. It's Hairspray, which has been made in a few different iterations.
Yeah.
It was initially made in 1988, and it was written by the director John Waters. And it was remade in 2007, and it's also been a very successful musical.
It's a
So the 2007 version is the musical, so it has the songs in.
Did the musical come first or after?
The musical came after the first film.
Right. But before the second
before
film.
the second one.
So the song... Right. Okay, fine. Okay, good. Okay.
So the musical gained popularity in between. It's a very interesting one as well. And this is why I'm saying I think it's going to be hard to predict whether or not you're going to like it. Because... So I watched the 2007 one when it came out, and I loved it. And I've seen it loads. And so when I realised that there was a John Waters version, I wasn't that sure what to expect, because I know John Waters as a director and I know his style. So I associate him with a much more grotesque, counterculture, kind of yucky style, which is much more that way than what I know from the 2007 version. So the story of Hairspray is the following. We have our main character, who is Tracy Turnblad, played in this version by Ricki Lake from the Ricki Lake Show.
The Ricki Lake Show. the like daytime TV show presenter Ricki Lake.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. I'll get to it. I'll shut up.
It's weird, right?
Ricki Lake is in this movie, yes.
Yes. So Tracy Turnblad is a teenage girl who is, as she describes herself, pleasantly plump. She is obsessed with a TV show called the what's it called? The Corny Collins Show. And it's basically like it seems like a nightly show where a bunch of people dance and you watch it.
Yeah.
And you can dance along in your home. Oh, this is also set in the 60s, by the way. I forgot to say that. It's 1962.
Yeah.
So they all look very 60s, and the music is all very 60s. So her and her friend, Amber... Was it Amber was the friend? Oh, it's so hard keeping up with names. Oh, my gosh. I can't remember what the friend was called. I think it was Amber, but that might have been
I'll bring up IMDb. I'll be your wing person. I'll be your wing person.
Oh, no. Amber was the...
Amber Von Tussle?
The bad one. She has a friend. I can't remember the name. I'm sorry.
She was tall. Your mom's like, you're not allowed to watch the show, right? Whatever her name was. What was her name?
What's her name?
I just watched this dang movie. I cannot remember.
Nobody's saying what her friend's name was. Okay, I'm really getting hung up on this now.
Let me Google. What was Ricky? What was Tracy Turnblad's?
Tracy Turnblad's friend.
Tracy.
Was it Penny?
That could be. Who was Tracy Turnblad's friend? Penny Pinkleton.
Penny. Her name was Penny. So Penny is her friend. And it's a friend. She also really enjoys the show, and they watch it together. Tracy has a dream to actually be on the show, and she goes to a kind of dance event where she demonstrates that she's very good at dancing, and she gets invited to audition, and she actually gets onto the show. So she becomes one of I think they call it the council, which is a bunch of teens who are all great dancers who all appear on the show every night. And this is somewhat revolutionary in a sense because she is in a larger body. So a lot of people who watch the show, I think, really like her because of that. But then there's also this other kind of plot line, which is that she actually becomes a bit of an activist for the kind of anti-segregation movement, because it becomes apparent that people of color aren't allowed on the show for most of the month. They only get like one night a month, I think they said.
I believe you're referring to Negro Day.
Yeah.
Which feels gross, by the way.
Yes. She makes friends with a lot of people of color, and so she, there's a black woman who is a very kind of big figurehead in the community, Motormouth Maybelle, she's called, who is kind of an activist herself, and then there's lots of people sort of surrounding her who I think educate Tracy about this a bit, and she, because she's a good egg, sort of takes this cause up, and so there's lots of allusions to this, and there's moments where like they kind of campaign on screen for anti-segregation, and there's a kind of mini protest at an event as well. She eventually gets sort of arrested, I think, or she gets sent to some kind of school. I can't remember what they said. So there's this competition at the end where it's a motor show, and somebody's elected the kind of best person. It's the classic prom scenario. And Tracy wins the competition, but she's not present, so her rival Amber wins instead. But eventually Tracy turns up, and it's all very uplifting and great. So it's basically the story of somebody who through their passion and talent overcomes prejudice against them, and whilst that's happening for them, she also make some moves around activism for the black community as well. As I said, it's a film by John Waters. It's definitely his most like mainstream film. It still features some of his characteristics, like I said, that kind of grotesque, very over the top, exaggerated style. It features Divine, who is a drag performer who featured in a lot of John Waters' films, and actually John Waters gave Divine the name Divine, and so that was a very kind of iconic performance and brought Divine's work to the mainstream as well. And like I said, it then went on and became a musical, and then was remade, so it's a pretty well-known musical, I would say. It's I think I heard of the musical before I heard of this film as well. So that's Hairspray.
Nice.
So I'm dying.
All right.
Did you like it? What did you think?
Let me tell you a couple things, all right? First and foremost, I'd never seen Hairspray before yesterday. Okay?
Any Hairspray.
Any version of it.
Any.
I knew nothing about this movie / musical / story other than I'd heard of it, and I knew it had something to do with people with big hair. That was it, okay? When I first looked into watching this movie, I saw John Waters, and I thought two things. First of all, I thought I liked that episode of The Simpsons he was in when he played John. Okay?
Yeah.
And then I remembered he was the guy who made that movie that I super didn't like.
Crybaby.
Okay?
Yep.
And I remember thinking, geez, it's going to be another one of this guy's freaking flipping weird movies. Although I've seen Serial Mom, and I quite like that movie. right? Story for another time. I thought this movie was great.
Yeah.
I thought this movie was great.
I'm so glad.
but of course I would have thought this movie is great, right?
See, that's what I thought. I was like, of course you would, but then I was like, yeah, but you did hate Crybaby, so.
Yeah, but Crybaby didn't make any sense to me because I thought it was weird and sort of like artsy, Whereas this movie was like, I instantly got it. Here's this young lady who super loves this Corny Collins show and loves music and wants to be on this TV show, and then gets on the show, but then it becomes a bigger thing, which is about anti-segregation and racism. And I thought that, here's what I loved about it. It was colorful. It was really fun and upbeat. The music was great. Like, at first I was like, I get it, guys. You all wear hairspray. Can everybody stop spraying their heads with hairspray? Right? Right? And I was like, then again, I'm going to keep seeing shots of that. I loved that the movie started as one thing and then became something else. I want to watch the next one. In fact, I started watching the next one, and then I thought, whoa. Wait.
Yeah.
Because we'll probably cover it in the next, when we do the 2000s. But I'm really interested when a movie becomes something else, and then it's remade, and the story keeps being told, and coming into it really fresh. I really liked it.
Cool.
So we can just end the podcast now. That's it. That's it.
Great,
That's it.
done.
It's really exciting to watch a movie that was one that you knew and liked and I've never seen before. That doesn't happen very often. But I'm really curious to know now. I'm curious to know, what did you think of the original, being someone who was brought up on the remake?
The remake. So obviously it came out in the remake came out in 2007 when I would have been, how old was I? 14, 15.
It's a sweet spot. It's a sweet spot right there. That's the sweet spot.
So that it hit me at the right time, and it also starred Mr. Zac Efron. So
you're hooked.
big deal in my world. So I think obviously any other version which didn't have him in it was going to be a problem for me. So I've watched the 2007 one a lot, and I really liked it. I did watch this one when I was a bit younger because of the fact that I knew the 2007 version, and at the time I obviously didn't like it as much because I like the remake so much.
Well, the remake is a musical too,
and the remake is a musical, and it has great songs in it, and it has Zac Efron in it.
How many times are you going to say Zac Efron in the remainder of this episode?
Just you wait until we get to the 2000s. You're in big trouble, mister.
Is he the Twilight guy?
No, that's Robert Pattinson.
Who's Zac Efron? What is he from?
Zac Efron is from High School Musical.
Right, which is also a movie I've never seen.
Yeah, so we have that, and we have Twilight, and it's going to be... Whew. Like, we went through the 90s, and that was like your Drew Barrymores and...
Yes.
What's the name?
Parker Posey?
Parker Posey.
Yeah.
And we're going to go through the 2007s. And
so Zac Efron is your Rachel Lee Cook, if you will.
Yeah. So... We've talked about your hormones. It's time to talk about the 2000s.
Get ready, everybody. Here we go.
So I didn't like it as much. And then I've obviously watched it again now, and I do really like it. I think it's fantastic. So this was the first John Waters film I saw. So that was very much the basis. I found it very intriguing. I think when I watched it when I was younger, I found it very interesting. I hadn't really accepted my interest and love in like drag performance yet, so this was like a kind of little taster for me, and that's obviously something that I've developed much more as I'm older, and it's now a big passion and interest of mine. So I'm obviously really excited to see Divine and see that kind of very heightened style that this film has with the huge hair and the big colours and all of that. So that influences one of the reasons why I enjoyed Crybaby more than you did, because I was familiar with that style. But it's the same as what you said. I think this film aligns a lot with my political views on the world, and I think it has a really interesting way of depicting a character who is kind of discriminated against in a certain way, which is, she experiences fat phobia. She's thought of as less attractive and less appealing automatically because of her physical size. And the way that she's able to break through into this world, but she doesn't just stop there. She uses that, and by which we mean the film uses, and John Waters uses it to also discuss something much deeper and much more kind of terrible at the time, which was racial segregation. And I think it's so interesting to have that talked about in a film which is called Hairspray, and which is about something quite silly, and it's about dancing and having a good time. But I think I do like that. I think there isn't so I think there is an argument to say that if you're dealing with a very serious, very difficult topic, you don't want to skim over it, and you don't want to undersell it, and you don't want to, glorify it. So as an example, the film The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
That's a film which is set in, it's like 20s New Orleans, I think. Yeah. New Orleans, sorry, yeah.
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
I believe you mean the Big Easy. Okay.
Yeah.
Locals call it the Big Easy.
And I love that film, but it features the first Black Disney princess. There has been a lot of discussion which says that is slightly, the way it depicts racism is slightly rewriting history, and it's like watering it down, and it's making it less of a thing than it really was. So you could say that that's a thing, but you could also, I think you could also argue that sometimes you do want to show the joy and artistic creativity of a specific culture, even during a time in which that culture was being oppressed.
Yeah.
And I do think some films do that, and they kind of toe the line between, are we making things seem much nicer than they were, or are we actually celebrating a specific people even though they were experiencing severe discrimination at the time?
Yeah.
I would say that this film does a bit of the latter. It does, because it does mention about how a lot of this style of dance and style of music comes from Black culture. It does show show Black people having a good time and having fun and dancing.
Sure.
I don't think it says, oh, everything's fixed now at the end of the film.
No.
It maybe does a little bit, but it's tricky. It's just one of those things that I think it depends on on how you read the film and sort of films do it differently. I would so much rather that a film tries to tackle it rather than just stays away from it completely. However, so that's one thing I would say about this film. I think another thing that's really cool about it is I've talked a little bit about Divine as a performer. I don't know if you know much about
other than, here's what I know about Divine. I feel like you've talked about them before, and I can't remember when. And I did a little bit of Wikipediaing, and was sad to hear that Divine died right after this movie came out.
3 weeks after the film. I know, it's really sad.
And that's very, very sad. And I wonder if this movie is significant in the casting of a female character as from a drag artist. And I would love to know if that's, because I felt like that definitely of any time, let alone 1988, must have been a really like a new space.
So I would say that like a big part of drag, the history of drag, comes from pantomime, where you would have a pantomime dame. You would usually have an older woman played by a man in drag.
Yeah.
And that's still a thing now in pantomime that you would have that.
Sure.
And that's
silly, right?
Well, it is silly, but I think that there is a lot of there's always useful artistic things to be found in any artistic medium. And I think if you look at pantomime, the fact that it is silly is what allows a more conservative audience to forgive the fact that it's a man in a wig and a dress.
Right.
And think of that as funny. But actually, it does bring a very interesting, a very unique, and a very exciting element to that performance, which is drag itself, because drag is about elevation. It's about showing an extreme version of something, whether that thing is femininity or masculinity or gender or sexuality or whatever it is. It's about turning the dial up to 150%, right? So even though it is silly and it's just like a comedy figure, you are also wearing an outfit which overemphasizes elements of the body and a huge wig and huge ridiculous makeup. And it's a vehicle for that to be allowed to happen. So whereas in other areas where you would have men performing femininity, so for example, if you look at like traditional Shakespeare, you wouldn't have been allowed to have women on stage. So it would have been men in wigs. And there's I think potentially a myth that it's like dressed as a girl is what drag means. I don't know how true that is, but so like
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in Shakespeare's time, you would have had young, sort of thinner male actors playing Juliet or Viola or whatever. Right. But that was less about things being over the top and more about we need somebody to play this character.
Right. Whereas in 1988, John Waters could cast anybody, but he chose to cast Divine in this role.
Yeah. Because
why?
He wanted, I think, that element of exaggeration and elevation. So Divine as a performer was basically he is a man. He was a man. Harris Glenn Milstead, he was called, who essentially started playing female characters in films in edgier, kind of more much less mainstream films. And then took that character of Divine onto stage and created a drag performance. Yeah. Very comedic, very grotesque, very rude, very sweary, and really just, super, super out there.
Sounds like a hoot.
Yeah, a really great time, I'm sure. And then created this very, very iconic visual for Divine. So it's very familiar to a lot of people, even though they might not realise that this is what it is. If you look at a picture of Divine, she has a very far back hairline. Yeah. So to have these massive eyebrows with these big colours, which it almost looks a little bit scary.
She looks like a bug. She looks like a butterfly.
Well, I was going to say, is there any specific cartoon character that Divine's face kind of reminds you of?
This is what we talked about. All right, right? Are you talking about? Ursula from
Ursula, yes.
from the Little Mermaid,
who was very specifically designed based on Divine's look.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. Why they didn't, okay, but but they were very subtle about it at the same time because it was the early '90s and Disney didn't want to push the boat, so they modeled Ursula after this famous drag queen, but cast a lady to play the part, hey?
Yeah, I think Ursula is a very revolutionary character in a lot of ways, but could have been more revolutionary, I think, if people were allowed that to happen.
For unfortunate souls, it's sad, but true.
Yes. And obviously with Ursula, I think we've probably talked about before how queer-coded that character is.
Totally.
And I think, Divine was a huge sort of visible member of the gay community and of the LGBTQ plus community, a very visible American drag queen. In Britain, in the kind of in the 20th century, we had a few like Dame Edna and I've forgotten his name. There's another one. I can't remember his name. We had a few people who were in the Grayson Perry is another one. Were in culture who were kind of accepted drag performers. I think it was less so in America perhaps, but Divine was one who was very well known. And just as a result of that, you know, it's one of those situations where you have somebody who just by existing is controversial and is a statement and is political. And I think that term counterculture is so important and so interesting in this context, because if you think of Divine as a counterculture figure, how it's somebody who's portraying a gender other than the one they were assigned at birth. It's somebody who is, you know, talking about things that are very controversial and very left-wing and very upsetting to a lot of people against the kind of nuclear family. The other things in this film that are counterculture are things like anti-segregation, body positivity, body liberation. You know, those are also counterculture. So it's almost saying, you might not like this person, you might find them grotesque and upsetting, but look at what they represent and look at the things that they're standing alongside. And it all comes together in entertainment. And that's what I love. So, you know, that's my whole thing. I love it when entertainment pushes the line and makes you think. And I think this does it very well.
Yeah, agreed. You know, the scene that probably stuck out the most for me and kind of resonated with my own upbringing. So, like, you know, I grew up in the suburbs. I grew up in a really multicultural was not the first term you think of in the area that I grew up in, right? Mm-hmm. And there's that scene where Penny's mom is trying to find Penny, and they're all down at the record store in a different part of the city than they live in, right? And the mom is over the top terrified because she's in a neighborhood with black people, and she's like, oh no, my dad shouldn't be here, you know. And then she goes, she sees a police car and she goes up, officer, help me. Oh no. And then the cop is black and she doesn't know what to do, right? I grew up in a neighborhood that with people who would have felt that level of, you know, unnecessary fear to be around people that were not like them. And I saw that scene and I was like, that is capturing an absolute reality of America, not of just of the 60s, but of, I'm sure, present day. And I thought, in a movie that's a bit on the surface is about fun and dancing and being on TV and, you know, doing the new twist or whatever, I thought it was so cool to have that balance of, you know, like bright pink loveliness and, you know, gritty reality of like racism at the same time.
Yeah.
And here's Tracy who's just like, I just want to dance, right?
Yeah, because that's the thing that's so clever is you create a heightened reality that visually is so obviously a heightened reality.
Yep.
And then you include things that fit within that heightened reality that we know to be real and we know to be from real life.
Yes.
And that shows us that's how extreme this is. It's as silly as all the other stuff we've shown you, but you haven't identified that before because you're used to it. And I think, you know, there's that great thing as well with that. So that character, the mother who's so racist and scared of and xenophobic, she then hires I think it's like a hypnotherapist who is actually John Waters, which is so fun, who comes in and he's got like a big spinny disc and a big like electric stick, and it's so obviously pantomime, it's so obviously over the top and ridiculous, but again, you know that's how some people really think, and you know that's a reality. And another thing that's done really cleverly is Divine plays Tracy Turnblad's mother, Edna Turnblad. Divine also plays the head of the network, who comes in and tries to cancel the show and is saying no black people on this channel. Showing that character is as ridiculous as the mother, who is obviously a man in the wig.
I didn't even
that. So that's saying, cool. Look, the big, ridiculous executive man who is saying, no, we're not having any people of colour on our show, we're not having any of this, that is as silly as a pantomime dame, which you know is silly. So that's how you do it. That's how you point out how ridiculous these things are.
The last thing I want to say about John Waters, and I know very little about him. Now I've seen 3 movies he's ever made, right? And I didn't one day maybe we'll you and I will just sit down together. We'll watch Cry Baby again.
We'll watch every single one of the films that we've talked about and see if we still feel the same way.
We'll literally watch a young Johnny Depp slowly brushing his hair back with a comb and weeping because I can't remember why. Something about a car race and they're holding a scarf or whatever. Anyway, to the point. Here's what I realized about John Waters is and I really like is from what I understand, John Waters is very specific about who he cast in his movies and makes really interesting decisions. And then, like Wes Anderson, just keeps using the same actors in a lot of movies, which I think is really clever because you can only imagine the depth of their understanding of each other when you work with somebody for a long time. You can get a lot, like, you know, again, like I imagine that when Wes Anderson and Owen Wilson sit down and talk about a new project, you know there's a depth beyond just here's the script because they've done like a dozen movies together. So each of them really understand each other. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like more like a project than a film. Creative collaboration, a project.
Yeah, but it's just kind of cool that like this guy who made very weird artsy movies, in my opinion, made a movie that then spawned a very successful musical. And
Cry Baby was as well. Like Cry Baby was a musical.
No,
as well.
It wasn't. Was it really?
Yeah.
Cry Baby the musical, and everybody cried and saw Johnny Depp's salty tear going down his cheek. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. But I would. I'm going to be honest with you. I would so go and see Hairspray the musical.
Oh yeah.
I would love to.
It's really good.
Like.
Good morning, Baltimore.
Man, like good. Why don't people make movies into musicals more often?
I mean, they do pretty often.
I mean, I guess they do.
It's a really good way to make money.
I did hear that Back to the Future is also going to be a musical, so maybe people need to slow down. You told me this
many times.
Yeah, I know, and it's going to be a bit like if there's a song called like
Back to the future, we're going back to the future.
Just imagine, I'm Doc Brown, I'm on top of the clock tower. Oh no, a tree fell and knocked the power down. What will I do? I'm hanging on the ledge. Marty's gonna go back in time soon.
I think it would be one of those things where you would be so cynical about it. You'd be so cynical. You'd be on the train going to London to see it. You'd be
21.5.
You'd be sitting on the tube going, oh, it's going to be terrible. I can't believe it. Oh, it's going to be really bad. You'd be sitting in the theater. You'd sit on the stairs, in the chairs going, oh, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. Curtain comes up. And then you love every second
hoverboard, hovering, oh, but back in time. And Biff is the bad guy. What will we do now? To the future, how did the Cubs win the pennant? And I can bet on sports.
Self-tying shoes.
Auto dry jacket. Where is my girlfriend Jennifer? Right?
Where you're going, we don't need rust.
Dee dee dee, ba-dee-dee, ba ba ba. And everyone's scatting. Do you want to go back in time? If so, can I recommend you listen to season 1 of Plot Twisters? In that season, we covered 50 movies from the 90s. I didn't even know there were that many movies from the 90s. Well, there were, because I'd seen them all. Go back, listen to them, and if you like them, share them on the social media platforms at Plot Twisters Pod. What are we going to do here?
What you don't know about Anders' listeners is that he suffers from this very special condition, which is when he encounters an awkward silence, he just starts humming the Back to the Future theme song. Every time,
though. Yeah, it works every time. It works every time.
We've been to so many cool
funerals,
parties together.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Funerals. Loads of funerals
and also
together.
Parties. Obviously parties. Obviously parties. Yeah.
There's a silence and everybody's crying because of the
galas,
funeral, and then
museum openings, brisses, every single time. There's a silence.
Sometimes we're both so keen to get a joke out that neither of us does a joke.
It's called an anti-joke. All right, look it up, nerds. It's the best kind of joke. You subvert the narrative, and then you zig, and everybody else zags, and then they turn around. And they go, "Where did you go?" And you go, "I'm right here." Here's
but
the
if we're
punchline.
both zagging and nobody's zigging, then
it's bad. But if everyone's zigging and nobody's zagging, what's the point of life? That's my question. Dee, dee, dee.
I feel like I'm the zig and you're the zag.
Yeah, you are the zag. You're very much the zag. You're also the Zoe, and I'm the Zelda. I'm the
You're a Zelda.
Zelda.
No, we figured this out before.
You're a Zelda, and I'm a
we
Zoe.
figured it out. I'm a Zelda, you're a Zoe, right?
Yeah, exactly. Zoe Deschanel is a Zelda. That's the fun one.
Yeah, that's the fun one. The BoJack Horseman reference, by the way. If you haven't seen it, then you're gonna have a hard time with our podcast. So, I have no ideas.
No ideas.
No ideas for Hairspray. So you do it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Here's the thing. This movie is about fun. It's about music. It's about making things a little bit crazy and big, and also about some big actual problems in the world, okay? So if you were to take the concept of this movie but remove everything about it but just keep the concept, which is like it starts out fun about a thing that's really fun, but then it turns into something real but is also still fun. What's a thing that's fun that isn't music?
Circus?
The circus, okay? So what if there is a kid who loves the circus and wants to be in the circus because they want to do the circus stuff? Maybe it's like a circus that doesn't have all the animal cruelty, right? And I'm not talking straight up Cirque du Soleil, but I'm just talking about like it's a lot of juggling and tightrope walking, or maybe
Ribbon
when
twirling.
Yeah, exactly, and like tightrope unicycling.
They do still have the thing where there's a small car and then like 15 clowns come out of it.
Obviously, that's fine because it's not cruel.
Can you imagine if, like, here's how I would do it.
Right.
You drive this really tiny car around the stage, and then it goes over a hole,
right?
And it's like a spring trapdoor. So when the doors open, the clowns keep coming out like forever because they're coming out of the floor. And then they walk, and then they get out of the car and they wave, and then they walk off stage, and then they
go back into the car
again.
Yeah, but they put
never-ending
new glasses, so everybody thinks it's a different one. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. What if actually it is a circus that has animals and stuff, and this young person really wants to join the circus, and then they join the circus, but then they call out the fact that that it's animal cruelty.
Isn't that kind of what Dumbo is?
No, because Dumbo's still, it's like they're just cruel to Dumbo the whole time.
Okay, they never fix
And
that.
then he flies away. With his big flappy ears. And makes all the crows who are uncredited racism. When I see an elephant fly. Who sang that song? No, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Because Disney wouldn't do it. So, but like, but it is maybe elements of maybe it is the movie Dumbo, but at some point Dumbo calls out all the racism in it.
I have an idea.
Okay, better than the Dumbo calling out racism. It's gonna have to be pretty good. It's gonna have to.
I don't know where this came from. This is pretty off the wall.
Great.
I'm just really plucking it out of midair. You know how you have people who dress up as princesses and go to children's parties?
Yeah, totally. Oh, did you know? Elsa's coming over for my daughter's 7th. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Wait, is she actually?
No, but I
was gonna try and
also one time
get an invite.
You can come. Also, one time, one of my daughter's friends was gonna have Elsa, but then she had COVID, so she did she FaceTimed into the party. It was like, "Hey, everybody, it's Elsa. I'm trapped in my ice castle," right? Which sucked. Apparently, I wasn't there, and apparently she had.
My ice castle.
Oh, I can't. I wish I could be there with you.
Please save me, children. I'm stuck.
But I'm trapped in this ice chasm.
Yeesh.
But I hope you're having a great 6th birthday, Samantha. You know, I don't even know anybody called Samantha.
Best friends. I was thinking there's a person who wants to be a Disney okay, I was going to say Disney princess, just a princess. You don't have to be Disney. We're not loyal to one specific company. Although that could be a pretty cool move for Disney to make a film about Disney princesses, but it's people going to parties. I guess that could be tricky for the brand, though.
Disney makes a movie about princesses people dressing up as princesses, going to parties, but actually somebody is a princess, and they find out they're a princess at some stage, and they realize they've been dressing up and cosplaying as a princess, but they're actually a princess.
Yes, one of them is you know that video of Adele where there's loads of pretend Adeles, and then one of them is actually
and one of them actually is Adele, and they're like, oh my god, it's actually Adele. Okay. So, yep.
It can't be like real world.
No, is it animated?
Because we know all the real princesses.
Yeah.
It has to be like a Princess Diaries situation where she's the Princess of Genovia.
Exactly. You can. Hey, everybody! It's not America, okay? It's not even Earth. Deal with it. They're humans, but they're on a different planet, it's different countries.
Aliens.
You don't want to watch the movie? Fine. You already paid for your ticket. Leave. Or stick around and we'll tell you about this new country and the princesses they're in.
But don't you love it when films are like, oh, look, it's a random generic European country.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's the Princess Switch with Vanessa Hudgens off of High School Musical. And she's like, oh, I live in the European country Belgravia. And it's funny because Belgravia is a place and it's a district of London. But she's like, oh, it's a snowy European country in the Alps.
They don't know. They don't have to know. We're not all geography, nerds. No,
Americans don't care.
They don't care. It's not Italy. It's not,
like that.
Paris,
it's like that
matter.
situation. It's like she's
fine.
like a princess of like a vague.
Right. She's a real princess. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they're in an audition with a bunch of.
She goes to America.
Is it New York or Hollywood? Because it's got a. What?
Hey, right. It can be one of the three. If it's not LA, it's not New York, then it can be Philadelphia.
It could be Philadelphia, right? Going by the old Wanamaker's building,
or like
tapping on the old Liberty Bell, and then doing princess stuff in South Philly. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. It's called Philadelphia Princess.
I'm fine with that. It's great, actually, because of the reference, right? Because the reference.
And the alliteration.
Yeah. Although, he did do that slapping thing, so is it fine? It's fine.
Smith.
Yeah, because he was the Prince of Philadelphia.
Philly. Okay, where else begins with P? Pennsylvania Princess.
Yeah, or Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie Princess.
Poughkeepsie Princess.
Too hard to spell. Wherever she's from.
Fine. Yeah.
Let's say Poughkeepsie.
Yeah.
So she's a real princess. She is in hiding, or she doesn't know she's a princess.
I like the idea that a bit like Harry Potter and all the other, the ones where what's that thing where you're normal, but then you find out you're special?
The chosen one.
Yeah.
Storyline.
Fine. Right. She's just a regular person, and then she finds out from she's flipping through an old photo album, or she's got a photo of her mom, and then it falls off the wall and breaks, and she's like, "Oh no, my picture's the only picture I have of my mom." She takes it out of the broken glass and turns it around, and on the back it's like, "Hey, dum dum, you're a princess," or something like that.
Maybe it's like an Anastasia memory loss thing.
Exactly.
So they're like, okay, let's learn how to be a princess for these parties. So first thing you need to do is walk around with 3 books on your head perfectly.
Exactly.
And she can just do it straight away.
She just do it.
Now you need to do the perfect curtsy, and she just does it. And they're like, wow, how did you do that? And she's like, I don't know.
I don't know. Which fork is for salad? It's that one, probably.
It's that one.
How did you know there's 27 forks? How did you know there's 27 forks?
Every princess knows how to play Claire de Lune on the harpsichord.
Exactly. This is like that thing where they figure out which one's going to be the next Dalai Lama, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, did you have this fork when you were alive? I don't. Is this your thing?
And there could be a really good scene where somebody puts a pea under her mattress.
Ooh, so uncomfortable. She's it.
She's it.
Wait a minute, people. We found her. She's lost. She's been a lost princess. She's a lost princess, but they found her.
Yeah.
They found her. What does this have to do with... Sorry. What does this have to do with
we
Hairspray?
wanted a social thing.
It's fine.
It was meant to be something superficial.
Oh, yeah. And then she turns out she's
You were
a princess.
like, what's fun, like music.
No, right,
I said circus, and then I said
I'm back on board.
going to children's parties as a princess.
What bad thing about the world is this princess going to be influential in resolving?
Homophobia.
Great. I'm a princess.
Done.
And also, you need to be more
accepting
of
gay
other.
marriage.
Yeah, it's not Adam and Eve. It's Adam and like anybody. It's fine. Just calm down.
It's just Adam.
It's just Adam.
He's fine on his own.
He is fine. He's doing very well. He has a stamp collection. That
3 dogs.
Yeah, and like on a Tuesday night, sometimes he goes out and slams a couple tequilas. You know why? Because he's friggin' alive, Adam.
Yeah.
You're not even listening, people out there, and Adam is living his best life, right?
Yeah. Adam is Eve. Eve is the drag character.
Exactly. It's like a Jekyll and Hyde but situation.
Yeah, Victoria, half and half.
Exactly, but they know each other and they are very much in love with themselves. Has that ever been done?
He's dating himself because himself is also her.
That's never been done.
Everything's been done.
But a split personality person who's in a romantic relationship with themselves and they're married with this ring, I me wed, right?
Yeah.
Will I do? You bet I do. I do. And then
surely it's been done.
And he kisses.
Everything's been done.
Does that thing where you make your hand and lips, you know?
Everything's been done. Rule 34.
Yeah.
Don't Google that. No, I think that's fun. So Adam is the princess and he is also Eve.
Yep.
And he falls in love with himself/herself.
Yeah, but he doesn't know because they're split personalities at first, and so they're writing each other letters and stuff.
Oh my god, yes! You know? So it's like it's literally like Dr. Jekyll. Wait, Mr. Wait, which was the Mr. Dr.
Mr.
Jekyll
Hyde,
and Mr.
Dr.
Hyde.
Jekyll. Yeah,
and he falls in love with a mystery woman.
That is him.
It's him.
That is him. I met someone last night. She's incredible, but I can't remember, and I can't remember what she looks like. But she wrote me this letter. She's so amazing.
I love that. Gay rights, people.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
Wow. There's something there. We've done
it again. Hey, Hollywood. What? Oh, you hear that? That's Hollywood knocking. And they're bringing with them a wheelbarrow of money, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? We're going to decline that offer. We're going to demand more money.
Yeah.
Because we're worth more.
And they're going to say, okay, here's this much. And then we're going to decline it again. And then they're going to say, okay, here's this much. And we're going to decline it again. And then they're going to say, that's actually too much money. And we're going to say, well, we've made our point. And they say, okay, goodbye. We'll see you later. And we go, well, that was our one chance.
That was it. We blew it. We blew it.
Absolutely blew it. Our expectations were too high.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yeah.
We had a good time along the way.
Sure. Exactly.
And we're going to both go back to our jobs as Disney princesses at children's parties. Which one would you be?
I mean, it's Elsa's as good as the next one. I'd actually like to be
more of an Anna vibe.
Yeah, I am and I'm more of an Autumn anyway. I would say if not Anna, maybe Rapunzel, right? You know?
Rapunzel, yeah, with a little
why not? I could rock that. I can figure that out.
So
You're I don't know. Who are you? Are you a Jasmine type?
I don't think I could do a Jasmine.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I'm more of a Belle. You know, she likes books and inventions.
Yeah. You
know.
Well, so does that. Yeah. I mean, but she's kind of, yeah. With a nose stuck in a book, right?
I think you're an Anna and I'm an Elsa.
Yeah. Absolutely. But that makes us sisters. First of all, that makes us sisters with a sad story of dead parents and also a complicated upbringing.
Yeah, but we do have a snowman.
Yeah, it's our family tradition. Right? He's the best. He makes everything feel okay.
Do you want to notice?
I'm talking to the pictures on the wall.
It's always there's always a point where we end up like casting ourselves in something in some way or another. It was only a matter of time before we came to cast ourselves in Frozen.
Look, we could do it, and you and I both. Let's be honest, we've seen that movie enough time. If we wanted to put on a 2-person show of Frozen in the park, it would not take a lot of rehearsal. Okay, like we could just do it right now. We could improv that whole movie, and by improv, I mean just say the words and sing the songs.
Born of cold and winter air and mountain rain combining. This icy force both foul and fair has a frozen heart worth mine.
Cold as heart, cold as rain.
Clear. Strike for love and
strike for fear.
The beauty and there's danger here.
The icy heart and only something frozen hard. Back 'em high, get 'em up. Powerful, wonderful,
we can't
something
do this again.
Cold.
We
Ice.
can't do this again.
That whole movie starts with them friggin' cutting ice.
We have at one point said
such a dangerous job.
It's such a dangerous job.
Like, right? Invent the
and also
freezers,
their business.
nerds.
Their business is in serious jeopardy.
Oh
and they
my
don't
gosh.
Even know.
Yeah, exactly.
Because their profession is ice, and we can't do this again. We can't do this again.
What do you do if you sell ice and it's a potential? What do? You got to pivot. You got to sell fire. You got to sell fire.
We can't do this again.
Hey guys. Hey guy with the reindeer. You need to sell fire because you can't sell ice in a blizzard.
Hairspray from 1988.
Right. Yeah, because Hairspray is great. We already talked about Hairspray. It's great. It's fine. It's great. Now we can really hone in on what does Sven do to pivot his small business when ice is everywhere. Right? It's a crisis.
A crisis.
It's a crisis. Yeah. Yeah. Just spitballing. I mean snowballing. I mean spitballing here.
I'm going to make a spreadsheet and figure out every episode that we've talked about Frozen.
Spoiler alert.
Or Twilight in.
It's everyone. Every single
one.
Every dang single one.
Because what I haven't realised is that every episode ends and then there's just like dead air for 20 seconds and then there's just you doing one of the Frozen songs at the end.
Let it go. Let it go. Don't hold me back anymore. Actually, I do one of the ones from the second movie because those songs really kill, you know? Into the Unknown, that one where Elsa's singing to her mom in the ice and she's just like, I can hear you, but I don't. Right? The water.
How do we get out of it? How do we get out of here?
Water holds memories. Hey, do you know what I remember? Is that we watched the movie Hairspray and we probably should rate that movie real quick, huh?
Okay.
Like
God, we were really stuck there. We were really stuck.
We got really stuck.
Sorry,
really
everybody.
Lost.
Shake it off. Shake it off. Shake it off.
Shake it off. Shake it
Hairspray.
off.
It's the one with Zac Efron in, right?
Blech.
Hairspray, 1988. How many mashed potatoes on a scale of 1 to 5?
Mashed potato. I don't know. I give it a 4. It was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, unexpected. Yeah. I had no expectation, no knowledge, no anything. I just turned on the movie and went, it's called Hairspray. I enjoyed it, start to finish. Thought it was great. I can't wait to watch the one from 2007, and I'd like to see the musical in real life. What about you?
4 as well.
It's very good.
It's very good. It's very good. It's very fun. It's fun to watch. It's interesting. It's got stuff in it that feels new and exciting.
Even though it's from the 80s. This was such it's so different to the movies we've watched so far. It was unexpected. I really
compare the presentation of a woman in a larger body.
Yeah. Totally.
In this film to like films that came like 10, 20 years later, you know?
Nuts. Totally nuts.
Nuts.
We talk about ratings a lot, and like our scale is literally just our own opinion, which, you know, it's not based on like actual merit of film. It's just like whether or not we liked it, which is fine because, you know, it's our podcast. So like, you know, if you disagree, you know where the door is. It's wherever you are. There's probably a door in that room. But I will say this, often I will rate a movie higher if it's a movie that I can see myself watching again in the future. And I could see myself watching Hairspray again, and that isn't always the case. So this is a watch. If you've somehow stumbled on our podcast and have listened to this episode and have gotten to the end, having never seen the movie Hairspray, I'm talking to you, Frank. Look at me. Go watch Hairspray. It's great. The end. That's my thought.
And on that bombshell, Frank,
or whoever you are,
if you're not called Frank, you should consider changing your name.
Yes, it works for, you know, all genders. It's a very gender neutral name, and so it's fun.
It's a very straightforward and honest name.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for listening to this episode of Plot Twisters.
Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you have the time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye. Dee 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 dee.